I used to bring a comb to school. I was obsessed with my hair, so I would put like all this gel in it and have this like perfect like part. Yeah, for some reason I was obsessed with this in like 7th grade.
Wow.
And which of course just leads to everybody messing up their hair constantly.
I used to go to
which
the
I would have to go to the bathroom and redo my hair.
Down. I'd like wipe it down because I didn't think it was like doing it right on
like
the sides.
with Aquanet or
No, just with water.
Oh yeah, just to make
and then
sure.
people would be like, "Did you just wet down your hair?"
No, I didn't do that.
Just got out of the shower.
It just looks like that. I think I just wanted it to look like fresh.
Yeah, I know.
All the time.
I didn't know what fresh
Which hair
was,
does not do
but
that.
Yeah, it was my obsession. I don't know why.
And then
it
I
was.
had a side spike for a while. That was
I did too.
unfortunate.
I totally had the side spike, and
It was a
Wait, the
big
side
It was a
spike?
big deal
Side
for a
spike.
while.
What's the side spike?
It's like a spike right here,
yeah,
like in
where
your
you might
part,
part your hair,
and you need like gel and shit.
That was totally
Make
the
it
style.
spike out?
It spikes up, but it's
up
like
and out. It's-
on the part.
Oh, I did the
extension of your-
wave for a while. I had the full wave going.
Yeah.
I was really into that. I also grew up in small town Oregon, so I don't know if that was
I grew up in
fashionable or
small
not.
time Montana.
Yeah,
I don't know.
what
I
we
was
did.
in Vancouver, so I don't know if that counts much.
that's a
either.
big city though.
Yeah.
That's big time. Actually, it's the dangerous side of town from where I grew up. But we didn't know anything about Vancouver
Wrong
except there were
side of the
shootings.
tracks.
Yeah. I just assume everybody gets shot up there.
In Vancouver,
Yeah, I grew
like
up in
a tiny
Independence.
town.
Exactly. That's my only idea of Portland. There were bands there and there were shootings, and you could either do one or the other. That's about it. That's your only choice.
between.
Yep.
and really
Hopefully you
neither.
see a
or get
band
shot.
or you get shot.
Or get shot.
That's about it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trends with Benefits, our weekly tech podcast where we gather a roundtable of experts to talk about the tech topics of the day and our middle school nightmares, apparently. We're broadcasting live on YouTube right now, so if you're watching there, go ahead and drop in your comments. Let us know what you want to talk about. We will get to those. We've got a bunch of different topics that we're going to get to. And let's go ahead and introduce our roundtable here. I'm Greg Nibbler, your host, and to my right,
I am Nick Moke.
Nick Moke, right here with us. And I want to make a special note to say we've got a very special guest joining us here today.
Boy, howdy.
It's a very rare appearance that you get to see him on here, and we're honored. And
This is not my podcast.
It's not his podcast.
I have a different podcast.
He's a guest. He's a guest.
We've really got something special here
It is
today.
special.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ryan Juanita.
Ryan Juanita.
Good to be
Ryan
here.
Yes.
Dubs Juanita.
Yes,
true.
Let's
Quote
call it what it is.
unquote
Dubs. We'll just go with Dubs.
Elevate it.
Yep, there we go. So Ryan joining us. And on the end,
Caleb Dennison.
Caleb Dennison. And Caleb, what are you drinking today? Usually it's the Diet Coke, I feel like.
No, I
Wasn't
think
it?
we've
Oh, no, it was
established
Mr. Pibb.
No, it was just Pibb.
Pibb.
It
Not
used to
Pibb
be
Extra.
Mr. Pibb. Now it's Pibb Extra instead of Mr.
My
Pibb.
bad.
What's the extra?
Just extra deliciousness.
Oh.
I'm gonna go with.
Where'd
I don't
they
know.
get that?
Well, wherever they're getting the bark that they strain into that stuff, I don't know. If it tastes like it should get you high, like like acid or something like that, but it doesn't.
But it
Unfortunately.
doesn't.
Today
You are
it's
not
the
high.
Honest Tea raspberry. I prefer the peach, but raspberry Honest Tea. This stuff is good, man. They don't oversweeten it, I think, and it's
Now it's making it
hydrating.
sound like
and
they're a sponsor.
it's got half the sugar of a
I
Coke.
wish they were.
Half the sugar of a Coke or a Pibb Extra for that matter.
It contains 1% juice.
Yes.
Well,
But I mean, it's
tea
tea.
is
It's
honestly-
tea.
Does
You're
have real
not-
juice,
You're
though.
not looking for juice.
Yeah.
Honest tea is honestly the best tea I've ever had. There we
Thank
go.
you.
There's
Yeah,
a catchphrase.
there's your
for it.
slogan.
All right, let's get into our topics.
send more tea.
We have to get to this first one, and this is because it's the big thing happening next week. We've got a preview. Sometimes this event does not actually bring out the most exciting news necessarily, but it is Apple, and we have to talk about it.
that's kind of Apple in general right now.
Right?
It's not
Yeah.
very exciting anymore.
Can we
Yeah.
just collectively groan when you say the name of the event? Just say it.
WWDC.
Because
big-
that's fair. That to be fair, it's one of those frustrating events for me because we have to cover it, which
Mm-hmm.
means we have to sit and watch the entire thing. And a lot like Google's similar conference, it's aimed at developers, so it's primarily software. It's not gadgets. It's not
Right.
super fun hardware, and which is less exciting to me, I
Yeah.
guess.
Kanye's not showing up at this one.
Exactly. The icons are getting 30% more roundy, and God knows what else they're going to do. What? The only way this is going to be interesting for me is if they have if they put like a profanity option into Siri.
Oh, so you can allow profanity, or Siri will
so
curse
she
at
can
you?
talk some trash,
Okay.
and say some foul mouth stuff, because I think that would be really entertaining.
Yeah, Siri were to talk dirty to you, basically. applications.
That's not what I had in
Okay,
mind.
that's different applications.
You make it sound gross. I'm not suggesting anything gross. I'm just saying I think it would be fun if Siri was just a little bit more frank and said some stuff that would just, I don't know. You
Yeah.
know,
She's a bit of a prude.
You want
right
Siri
now.
to be frank now?
well, I would no.
They're not going to change the name.
No. But, you know, when my alarm goes off in the morning, maybe Siri could chime in and say, wake the F up, dude.
Yeah.
You know, because
Get
she
your
calls me
ass out of
dude
bed.
instead of Caleb, you know, just so you know that.
But that is the point of what they're doing with Siri, too. Maybe not swear, but they want her to be more able to understand you, more able to predict what you're going to say. And now they're competing with Google, who has the jump on them because they're freaking Google and everyone types all of the information in the universe into their interface.
Yeah.
So now that's the big thing I think that Apple's trying to show off at this event. We think anyway.
It's trying to
A
compete
smarter
with Google's.
Siri.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then 'cause
that's the real race right now.
is with the AI basically assistant.
Yeah, an assistant that actually talks to you. Amazon has been killing it with the Echo, way more popular than anybody predicted it was
Alexa
going
is
to be.
my favorite. I love her.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Amazon's got Alexa, so Apple has fallen behind in all of that.
yeah. And well, the other thing that people have rumored is that Apple is going to come up with some sort of speaker type device like the Echo that, you know, maybe involves the new Siri, maybe involves some HomeKit stuff, so you can turn on your lights and throw up the garage door, all that stuff.
Do you guys use Siri regularly? Like, is that a normal part of using your phone?
I
for you
use
at this
Siri
point?
to set alarms. I use it sometimes when I am driving and need directions, although sometimes it works and sometimes it acts like my address is a nonsensical number. I find it pretty frustrating for most tasks that are more difficult than Siri set an alarm, Siri set a timer. But I think that's what they're trying to fix.
I don't call her by her name. I just tell her what to do.
And she responds.
And she responds. No, I use Siri more often than most people, I think, because of Apple CarPlay.
Yeah.
You know, reading back the text messages and all that other stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of like Ryan. I set my alarms by
Yeah, and that's about it.
or reminders. I
Reminders.
love reminders.
She's great for reminders. Absolutely.
Reminders in general are awesome.
Yeah.
I forget so much less stuff now.
Absolutely.
I flake out on so fewer people than I used to before.
But
Thank you, Apple Siri
Yeah.
reminders.
But how is
Get
that
on
something that Siri does that that you can't do with Google or?
No, I don't think
You
that
know.
it is. I mean, and I think that Siri makes a lot of mistakes too. I had one
Yeah.
where it was like, get the beaver out of the freezer. I mean, really, I shouldn't think that I said beaver instead of beef. Like, there's not a beaver in the freezer. That's
Right.
just not going to happen.
Logically speaking,
Well, if
you are
you're
from
in Oregon,
Montana.
Well,
though.
maybe.
you go to Eastern Oregon, that probably happens all the time.
We don't even
Maybe
wanna
it's a
get into
geolocation
that.
error. of some
So
sort.
so we're looking at some updates to Siri, hopefully.
Yeah.
And what else? Any other like hard hitting things? Anything that's going to be exciting other than more rounded buttons or or whatever else comes out?
I mean, there's going to be they think they're going to rename OS 10 to macOS.
Whoa!
And probably bring out a new version of that. And some rumors have been flying around that they're going to show off a new MacBook, maybe just
Okay.
hint at it. But it's WWDC, and every time we think that something cool like that's going to happen, it seems like it doesn't happen.
It kind of seems. I mean, granted, they're not hurting for money, so it's not
Right.
like the company's going under. But it does seem like they need to make some kind of a splash, even if it is at WWDC. Because when's the next conference? It's not till when they announce stuff.
September?
Is
Is it
yeah,
September?
Yeah, they'll do
October?
September will be the new
The new iPhone. Well, and the one interesting thing
And even that.
we thought that they could add to the MacBook is like a touch sensor for your passwords, and they think there might even be like an OLED panel on there,
Okay.
like on the front of it, which would be awesome if they just did something to, I don't know, make it just
Jazz it up or
something different than it was 6 years ago or 5 years ago. Last time we got a major,
Right.
update besides some haptic pressure points on it.
Yeah, that's that right there. That would put me to sleep. Haptic pressure points.
Yeah, nobody
Let's
cares.
get into that. Yeah.
I'm already asleep right
yeah.
now.
And
well,
then there's
this
that-
is, and
then
again,
the-
if you're just tuning
Apple
in by
Music, too.
YouTube, we're talking about Apple's WWDC. And is there anything that you're looking forward to? If you're watching YouTube right now, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Maybe there's something that we're overlooking that you're excited about. I mean, Nick, what do you think? Is there anything else that you can think of?
I'm sorry, there's nothing else.
Yeah, that's just what it is.
So the worst part of it this year is that Apple synced it up to fall on the first day of E3 as well. So
Oh,
there's all these.
yeah.
They're competing directly at the same. They're in the same time slot as Microsoft's Xbox announcement.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. You know
for
what?
most
I
people,
think
which
Apple
are you gonna
loses that
watch?
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Apple
Apple loses
definitely
that
loses.
fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean they're running against. If it were a normal Microsoft announcement, I'd say Apple would win that. But Xbox stuff, like
In the
it's
digital
gaming.
field, you're never going to beat gamers.
Yeah.
Anything tech is going to get beat if it's gaming.
And it's a solid day of gaming announcements too. I mean, Microsoft is in the morning, but then there's a bunch of other companies. Sony is in the evening. Like
yeah.
E3 's
they
huge.
planned it on a terrible day. I don't know why they're competing with that.
Yeah,
it's
that's
really
odd.
stupid. Because whatever they're announcing now has to compete with like all these AAA blockbuster titles that are going to be. There's going to be new footage of them at E3, and there's going to be maybe new hardware announcements from Microsoft, and who knows what else.
What
Well-
do we know that if Microsoft's working on VR at all, or has that been rumored at all?
I don't know if there are any specific
'Cause I
rumors
know
about that.
PlayStation's moving towards that too.
I think we're supposed to get more details on the PlayStation VR for sure.
Well, Microsoft's thing's been the AR. I mean, that seems to be
That's
The
true. The
HoloLens,
HoloLens.
the
yeah, that's
HoloLens going along there. But that's not Microsoft. This is Apple. So Apple, WWDC, you can get all the coverage, though, at digitaltrends.com and all the E3
Really
coverage.
stoked about
as
it.
well.
Most of it,
Definitely
if it
come
has to
back
do
and
with
read it.
Apple Music, there's a good chance that we just have to skip it because, like, this. I'm sorry, this is a funny story. You know, when we were going through who was assigned to cover what from WWDC, came up the Apple Music thing came up, and I was like, and Mallory's like. She's our one of our mobile editors, and she said, "Well, Caleb or Ryan will handle Apple Music," and I was like, "Yeah, no, we won't. Like, neither one of us have Apple Music." And then, so I did like a roll call in the organization. I'm like, "Does anybody have Apple Music that could maybe speak intelligently about the improvements to the whatever, you know?" And no, nobody.
Nobody is using
Nobody
Apple
has
Music.
it, and I know they have a lot of subscribers, but yeah, I just can't bring myself.
Which I wonder though with that, and this is a tech review company. Like this is Digital Trends, and nobody you could find had Apple Music.
And almost all of us have iPhones.
Yeah.
We all know better.
You-
It's like
yeah,
trying to find
that's
someone
true.
that uses Internet Explorer at this company.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
That's fair.
we all know it exists,
I
but
wanna be
nobody's
fair
actually
that
using it.
I actually kind of liked Apple Music, but it doesn't have Discover Weekly, and that was sort of the breaker for me because Spotify's Discover Weekly is this brilliant algorithm.
Ask Ryan what he thinks
Serves
about
up 30
Spotify's
songs.
Discover Weekly.
It's great. It's awesome.
That's an entire. That's your next podcast. You get two now.
My podcast. No, I mean I think that's a real missing link. So maybe they'll add something like that. Some playlists are so much easier than digging around through 30 million tracks. And if you have a music program that just gives you an awesome playlist once a week, all the stuff that you like and new things to discover, that's a pretty big advantage.
Right.
I just don't want the music disappearing off my phone, and that's what happened.
And that is one big thing, with Apple.
Whatever.
With Apple Music, from everything that I've heard. At least iTunes, it did that to me. on
We'll
my
find
computer.
somebody to cover it. I promise.
All right,
It's just-
so
I think
there
it's
will
funny
be
that-
coverage.
There are cool things about Apple Music.
So Apple's conference is coming up, and you can follow that coverage next week along with E3. You decide which one you want to follow more, but it'll all be at digitaltrends.com. Let's go on to our next topic here, leaving Apple behind. Let's talk about another huge company that's actually had a lot of success, especially lately, or at least their founder has, Tesla. So Tesla is in the news for one thing, and then kind of it goes beyond Tesla at this. There is and this has happened a couple of times now, where somebody is blaming Tesla's onboard, essentially AI onboard service for causing an accident.
like self-driving mode.
Like self-driving mode. So this guy is saying there's a guy that got in an accident last week, and he claimed that his Tesla, reported that a 5-day-old Model X collided with a building. It ran into a building, and his claim was that the system messed up and increased speed and ran him into this building. Like the system did it, he had nothing to do with it.
Right.
But
That's a
Tesla has
convenient excuse,
essentially
isn't it?
a black box on board, and so they took a look at it. Like, nope, the system worked fine. It was manually pressed. It went from like zero. What was it?
It went from like 6 miles an hour to full throttle and
Yeah.
crashed into a building in front of it. And so they're just saying, no, you just stabbed the throttle. Like
Whoops.
there's no autonomous
Busted.
intervention whatsoever, which he is disputing. First of all, he says apparently it was his wife driving, and he says he insists that she's a great driver and she's parked in this parking lot dozens of times.
Right.
And apparently she is not able to make her own arguments.
Yeah, I don't
is
even
a-
know
where
why
is
he is.
she?
is a
Why
Is he
this guy
shielding
is
her from the
speaking
media?
for her? But yeah, Tesla is saying no. We have the data. That's not what happened.
True. It's right here.
Well, what are the odds that it could be some Tesla shenanigans?
Oh, there's
I'm
if
sorry.
you're watching live, there's things going on behind us right now. I mean, but that it could actually be Tesla that screwed up, and even their system saying it was manually
Or
depressed
yeah, I
for it.
mean Tesla. Maybe they just. I mean,
What if Tesla is lying?
they hide
That
the
was
data?
my
Tesla
question.
is lying?
What
Could they
if
hide the
Tesla is
data?
saying no? It was the throttle. They could be lying to save face themselves.
They
Do you think they
could.
do that?
But then they're putting their entire billion-dollar company's reputation on the line for one frivolous possible lawsuit, right?
Or if they are lying, though, maybe there's a ton of it out there, and everything's going to have problems. Now,
Maybe
don't
they
want
have
people to know about
everything to lose.
it.
not
I mean, I
nothing
guess
to
so.
lose.
If we go conspiracy theory, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's
we
possible.
always
It's nice that
do
we
on
can
the
blame
show.
our self-driving cars now for our
Yeah.
accidents.
I mean,
That's a nice time to live in.
right. It wasn't me. I love the idea, though, of the black box. I mean, I hate the idea that people can track you and where you're going and all that. But then again, I'm not doing anything exciting or anything I've really got to worry about. I guess on principle, I don't like it. However, just for accident issues, because I got in that accident about a year ago where some jackass ran a red light and slammed into me and totally messed up my car. But he lied, saying that I did it, and then it's just our word against each other. With this, I could have proven it. Finally gotten a little.
It's harder
Yeah,
and
that's
harder
did
to
it,
pull
and-
that off, though, because, I mean, at least here in Portland, there's a camera at almost every freaking controlled intersection. in
There
the city.
isn't at 7th and Hawthorne, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's just
Well,
a
maybe there is
hellhole.
now.
Yeah, maybe there is
might
now.
be now.
That is that and 12th and Madison are just like
Yeah.
two terrible places to drive.
Yeah, and
Don't
they-
drive there. Just go
Exactly.
around a
Yeah, and there's
different way.
there's no traffic lights or no cameras up there.
Look, how many stories of elderly people accidentally pressing the accelerator instead of the brake have we heard about? Like,
Right.
And not even just elderly people. I think people make that mistake all the time. So I'm going to say she slammed on the
I don't
freaking
think I've
throttle.
ever made that mistake. Maybe some people make that mistake. I
Right.
don't know.
No, I mean, lots of people make that mistake.
Yeah.
You hear these stories all the time.
Well,
This is
are-
why cars end up in people's windows
Yeah.
of their houses.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true. Well, are you in favor of this, of having a black box on a car that somebody can track what you're doing at all times or go back and see what you did, where you went?
I'm in favor of having a black box that is not connected to anything. Like, it's not constantly feeding back to Tesla, but it exists for the situation you're describing. In an accident, you get rear-ended and there's some
Some kind of
debate over
proof.
who was at fault, or you crash into a building and want to claim that it was your car autonomously accelerated into it. I like the idea of having that available to look into after the fact. I don't like the idea of everything just always being vacuumed up into the cloud.
Yeah.
And Tesla always just like looking at, I envision like Elon Musk with like a map of the United States with like red dots all over
We
and
can
he's
just zoom in and look at
watching
you.
them crawl all over the map. Like, I'm not into that. But I like the fact that it's maybe
That
preserved.
is probably what he's doing.
And there's a way.
It's a hologram, though, like a Star Wars hologram.
Yeah,
he
like a
manipulates
Minority
it.
Report
Yeah,
kind of.
I like the idea that data is preserved but can't just be pulled up willy-nilly. Like,
Yeah.
it's there for like emergencies.
I'm with Nick. I mean, I don't want this thing in my Toyota pickup right now, necessarily. But I do think a black box in a vehicle that has any kind of autonomous driving feature at all, the more computerized you make the car, the more backup you need to have.
Yeah.
I mean, why do we put the black boxes in planes? Because sometimes crazy stuff goes down and you need to know what actually happened. It's a little bit different for cars, granted, but I like the
Right,
idea.
but there are a lot more people die in car crashes than there are plane crashes.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I don't really care because I carry this around with me. So
you've got
they can do whatever they
your
want.
GPS tracking.
Yeah, they've got me. And what's the difference at that point?
Well, the black box knows what actually happened in the car. Your phone knows nothing about that. I would say
Unless
that's
they
the
turn
difference.
on
What happened in the
Unless they
car?
want to turn on the
What
camera
happened in the
and just
car?
Look
No.
around. I don't know. I mean, I never liked those insurance keys that you plug in and they can tell exactly how you drive, so they can
Right.
save you money.
Yeah.
I always thought that was kind of sketchy, but
Me too, dude.
Well, it's-
Flo is not selling
Yeah.
me on that.
No.
Stupid.
I mean,
And
it's
not only that,
I don't care how jovial she is about it.
Yeah, not only that, but I hear it's like pretty much impossible to get them to discount your insurance.
Well,
anyway,
some version of this is going to end up in pretty much every car, though, coming up. Like, as we go forward, it's just going to be part of it to where we're going to have to get used to it for newer cars. So I guess hold on to the old cars. That's about your...
oh, don't worry about that. I'm driving my '99 CRV into the ground.
99 CRV.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't think Nick ever has to worry about this, actually, because I'm pretty sure he's going to die and get buried in his
In the Delica.
in the Delica.
Yeah.
I really hope so.
That thing is amazing.
All right, let's go on to the next topic here, and this is kind of out of the blue. Maybe we can end with a little bit of show and tell too, from Caleb. This one, just to me, I've always been fascinated with this. Like, I loved Sequest DSV, so it's
DSV.
There's some throwback.
Yep.
Man,
Oh, yeah.
I
Is
thought
that a
about that
TV
in
show
so
or a
long.
game?
It was a TV show.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember now.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, I know.
That was a way back reach.
Yeah, I know.
Nice
It
one.
was pretty far back. This has to do with China. It's something that they're coming out with now. So they have their list. I mean, of course, it's China, so there's not a whole lot to back it up, but you kind of believe they will do it. They've got their list of top 100 science and technology priorities, and I guess rank number 2 on their list is the idea that they want to build a sea lab that is 10,000 feet underwater, a full-on sea lab where people will live down there, work. Ostensibly, they're saying, you could use it to help find where to mine stuff is probably what they want to do, or military capabilities, whatever it is. But the technology to do that is pretty impressive. To be able to build something like that, 10,000 feet, that's really, really deep, where you would have somebody manning that. To me, that's really exciting. Like, that's future stuff. I think that's almost more exciting than some of the space travel.
I think you have a reality TV show down there.
Oh, yes.
It's like The Abyss.
Watch them go crazy, yeah.
But in real life, what do they want to study down there?
Well, I think part of what they're saying, and again, it's China, so they're not giving you all the details, but probably for mining and then whatever military purposes they have, and then they're saying, study science and all that. But I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess.
I just need a really quiet place to study my science.
Study my
Study our
science. Yeah.
Just gonna go
Maybe
10,000
a
Gonna
special
write my
friend
songs
to
down there.
study science with every once in a while.
I also think that sounds really ambitious. I mean,
Yeah.
we haven't seen anything out of China yet that's rivaled our stuff, and we're not building
Yeah.
one. So
The Dub's dismissal. Well, we're not building one, and
Yeah,
it's China,
I mean,
so
okay,
it's not
China.
can't be that cool.
Yeah.
Here's a fun question.
wait till they
though.
beat us at something.
Here's a fun question. So let's say there is a science station.
A science station.
10,000 feet
We'll call it
underneath
that.
the sea, or a space station that you can get to.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go hang? Do you go hang under the sea or in space?
Always.
If you had a choice.
space.
If you had the choice.
How is he debating this?
I might
Space.
Space.
Yeah, but nobody else is going to be down there under the sea. Like,
No one else is going to be in space. What are you in space?
There's
there's a
more
couple of
people
Russian
that have been in space. What's going to be the bigger brag? Is it going to be
Sorry,
that you're in
space
space?
is too
or that-
crowded. I'm not going there.
There's like 10 people
God.
up there.
It's all.
It's
full
over.
of-
It's totally used up.
No, you
man.
get to
Have
go
you
down
been
there.
to
you
the
got, like,
ISS
glass
lately?
windows.
Oh man, so full of all these
space,
hipster
bro?
douchebags at the ISS. I gotta find a new ISS.
Played out.
So over it,
Dude, space is old school. It's all about underwater these days.
Underwater's the B side you've never heard of.
The beast.
All right, well, see, this is why I'll be down there. Nobody else will be down there. That'd be awesome.
You're gonna set the trends, Greg.
Yep, I'll
Just
set
like
it.
you always
I'll
do.
set
We'll
it.
all,
Oh,
we'll all
yeah.
come around
Just
10
a-
years down the
always
line.
do.
I mean, you heard about my part. I'm pretty fashion forward.
Where's
so-
Nibbler? He's underwater.
Under the seas.
All right, so that's
the
one
other
of the
shuttle.
things. Let's do for this last thing. If you're listening via podcast, you're going to have to find our show on the website, digitaltrends.com, so you can watch the video of this. This is something we haven't really done before, but we need some show and tell.
DT show and tell.
DT show and tell.
So I'm interested to hear what people think of this because I find it's a little more polarizing than I expected it to be.
Okay.
But
So,
Well,
Caleb, for people listening via podcast, let's describe what it is, but then also for
well,
everybody
what I'm
watching
holding
right now.
in my hands right now is a framed piece of art. I'm using air quotes right now because art is, obviously a subjective thing. But it's a framed piece of art. It is an image of a classic 80s boombox, right? But where the image of the speakers would be, that's been cut out, and actual speakers have been put into those spaces. So you basically have a boombox, functioning Bluetooth boombox speaker that you can hang on your wall. And I think the photographer who did this, I think, did a pretty good job of giving it a kind of a sense of depth. A lot of the people I showed this to actually reached out to like touch the buttons.
Yeah, it does.
And also it looks like there's some smudges there, and so you're trying to take some smudgy off. But yeah, I think I'm a fan of the boombox, and it brings back a lot of
And this
memories.
is
It's a
from
nostalgia thing. So
Case of Bass.
it's from the
here in
guys
Portland.
they kind of started the whole building a boombox out of an old suitcase and discarded speakers and electronics. But they've kind of refined the process. Now they have a Bluetooth amplifier module that the same one they use in every single one. He reclaimed speakers from green recycling location. We actually had them here a few weeks ago. If you want to go back and listen.
Trends with Benefits.
Yeah. So they decided to do something else. Ezra is a very artistic, kind of creative guy, and when he gets what he thinks is a great idea, he loves to go for it. And his stuff usually sells pretty well. So, this is called Touch of Bass, and it's a little deeper than you might hope for. I think a lot of people suspect something super thin, so it butts out from your wall by a good 3.5 inches or something like that. But that's actually necessary. You need that internal volume for the woofers to do their thing, and it sounds pretty good. It's definitely not super duper hi-fi, but it doesn't sound like garbage. I would say, I did say, it sounds better than most of the boom boxes that you would actually buy back in the 80s, because it's got better speakers in it and a decent little Bluetooth amp. Plus, it's wireless.
Yeah.
But I think conversation starter,
Definitely
no doubt
that.
about it.
Yeah.
I see a loft with a blank white wall, and this in the center,
And
Yeah,
nothing
that
else.
sounds
and a little
right.
wine party.
Yeah.
Where's the music coming from?
Oh,
The
actually.
picture. Whoa! I'm the hipsterest hipster.
So true.
But it is cool. It looks cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am a fan of the old boom boxes as well. I've still got one at home. I don't rock it out. I don't walk around with it, but
So in my
That's how you have to hold
in my write-up
Right.
of this, I kind of confessed that back in the day I was, trying to learn how to break dance, and I was doing a lot of backspins on flattened cardboard at my neighbor's porch. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah,
Hitler?
that was,
because you're old enough to have tried that out. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I lived out in the country, so it was a long bus ride, so I have to wait for the buses, and we would have our breakdance competitions.
Yeah.
While
out
you're
there.
waiting for the bus.
While we were waiting for the bus, I could nail the centipede. I was good at that.
Oh wow.
And all you do is flop around on the ground. I mean,
Wait,
that's-
isn't that
Yeah,
the
but doing
worm?
it well.
Doing
The
it well
worm?
is
Is that the
yeah.
same thing?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing as the worm.
Okay.
And I could do that, and I can lay on my back and like flip up
Mm-hmm.
and like land up. I can still do that one.
That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I hurt myself a lot trying to
was
master
it.
the head spin.
Oh yeah, the
Head spin
that's
is
a bad
really,
news.
really hard.
That is a tough one
Sounds
to.
impossible.
That's a tough one to hold on. Well, maybe we'll have to have a DT breakdancing competition.
That would
here
be
at some point.
amazing.
Like that's. We'll get a group of people around and they'll all clap while we.
Pretty sure we're
breakdance.
drunk when we do this.
Yes. Yeah. That's.
Let's make that the plan.
And we'll have to sign waivers because if we're
Somebody's gonna pull something.
somebody is definitely going to pull something. All right. Well, there we go. This is Trends with Benefits, our weekly roundtable podcast and live show here on YouTube that we do. So if you're watching, like I said, via YouTube, you can check out the podcast. Go to digitaltrends.com/podcast. And we've got another show that we do tomorrow at 2 p.m.
That's
hosted-
not this one.
That is not this show.
It's not Ryan's podcast.
And
It's
we're
not
gonna be
this
talking-
this one
We're
isn't.
going to be talking about this crazy. One of the things we're going to be talking about is this crazy movie that was written entirely by an AI algorithm. It wasn't Siri,
It was not Siri.
but this thing is starring Thomas Middleditch, and it's one of the weirdest things that you'll ever see.
And so that's going to be
So
on.
you've watched this movie?
Yeah, it's like a 9-minute movie. I've watched as much of it as I could take. They basically speak nonsense, but
I
it's
am so looking
very,
forward to this.
very interesting. Yeah, it's crazy.
So we'll be talking about that on Between the Streams tomorrow, which is the
Check
other
it
show.
out.
Yeah, you can also check that out on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts can be found, just like this one. Awesome. Anything else?
That is
Final
all.
thoughts?
do it.
All right. Well, I'll be putting that speaker in my underwater village that I'm creating for myself, and I'll be the hippest whenever. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back next
Yes,
week
you
with
will.
another episode.